Welcome to Take Charge Tuesday. I am excited to be with you here today. It's going to be another good one, as they all are. Today, we're talking about the super hot topic of insights over everything, right? Uh, One of my favorite things that people say is such and such over everything. And it's so rarely like a real thing, like that something trumps everything else. Y'all, data and insights genuinely trump everything else. So let's jump right in. I don't want to do the thing where we're just like talking. Let's get to it. So last week I went through the different types. I'm looking at notes here. I went through the different types of reports and questions that you can get from your analytics. So you can have your question of like what's happening right now on my site, which is your real-time reports. You can have your where are my visitors coming from question, which is going to be answered via your acquisitions report. You have your how are visitors interacting or engaging, which happens with your engagement report. And then you can have your monetization report, which is all about the money, like who's buying what and when. That happens in your monetization report. And then your frequently, hey, Alex, your how frequent are they engaging? Like what the frequency is of engagement happens inside of your retention report. Are they coming back? Things like that. And then visitors, like where are these people? Who are these people? And like, what do they look like? That is in your demographics report. So those are the kind of key areas that you are going to be collecting data. And the question is then, what do you do with it? Like, how do you make choices? How do you get the insights? And the answer is analysis. Now, okay, so some of you know this, and some of you don't, that I was getting a PhD in political science before I started this business. I do not have a PhD, and almost anyone in my PhD program will tell you that my weakness, my absolute Achilles heel in PhD school, both times, we don't talk about the fact that it was twice, both times was stats. Like I could get econometrics, but like calculus and stuff like that, I'm really bad at math. And because of that, I like just kept having huge issues with the data and things like that. And I will tell you this, the reason why I was having trouble, that of course I've discovered now 10 years later with 0 PhDs, is that I was having a hard time with the data to insights part because of the way that we were being taught to do analysis. I'm a very not numbers driven person. And I'm not a numbers driven person in my business. I'm not driven by a revenue goal. Like some people are like, I want to hit a fill in the blank dollar, right? I'm like, yes, I want more money, but it's more satisfying to me to double my revenue than it is to aim at a specific number. It's more satisfying for me to like break into a new bracket than it is for me to be like, I want to make like a specific dollar amount in a year. Like it's so weird, but that's just how my brain works, right? And so as a function of me knowing myself better, what I recognize is that because I'm not a numbers person, I always rebelled against the data. Like I would collect the data and I really didn't really want to look at it. But that was because I did not have the data associated with real questions that then on the other side of that had insights to be gained. That's the key. It's not about the freaking numbers. It's about what you can do with them. And the analysis is where that comes in. So first things first, the first point is that you're not going to focus on the raw numbers. So you're not going to look at this and go, oh, my bounce score is fill in the blank number. And so I'm horrible and my website's horrible. And everyone says your bounce number should be higher. And the reality is that that's not true. What's true is, or it should be lower. Your bounce rate should be lower. Your bounce rate, for those of you who are like, what is she talking about? The bounce rate is the amount of people who come to a page on your website and leave from that page. They don't go to any other page. They leave from that page. The reason why your bounce score in and of itself, the number itself is almost meaningless is because you could there's I can imagine many circumstances under which someone would come to your site, get everything they need from that page and leave because they are going to go do something now that is related to what they came to your website for. And so the idea that bounce is the only thing you look at is the thing that's problematic. So what we want to do is not look at our raw numbers and just be sitting there looking at them. What we really want to do is look for patterns and trends. Patterns and trends. So when you look at a report and you see a number, what you want to do is see, is that number the same across all the pages on your website? Right? So is your bounce score the same regardless of which page someone lands on your website? So whether they land on your homepage, a blog page, or pricing page, or about page, it doesn't matter what page they land on, they always leave. Like, if that's the case, then what you're really looking at is not an issue with your bounce rate. Like, that's the bounce rate itself is not the issue. What your real issue is that your content is probably not connected to each other on your web pages. So you may want to then look into interlinking the pages on your website so that if someone is reading something on one page outside of the navigation, so this is where people are like, but I have everything in my navigation. Your navigation is not the home for every page on your website. It shouldn't be. That's a whole separate lesson. But inside of one page, you may be linked to another. If you're finding that people only read the one page on every single page on your website and then leave, then you may want to purpose to find a way to get people to go from one page to another within the page. So you're not relying on the navigation to help people along on their journey. You're actually taking them along on the journey in your pages or on the pages on the website. That is an example of taking a pattern, a number, looking at the pattern of the number. How is that number appearing? And then doing something active about that, right? It does not necessarily mean that the copy on your web page is horrible, their website is bad, or anything like that. It could be your copy is fantastic. And every time someone comes to your website, they get everything they need from that one page, regardless of what that page is, and they leave. So I don't want you to get too overwhelmed by that. Matter of fact, I literally just now thought of a business that has probably a relatively low bounce rate or relatively high. So high bounce rate is when people leave from the one page. And that is HubSpot. Because I don't know about you, but HubSpot puts out resource after resource after resource. And if you Google something related to any number of topics, let's say analytics, if you Google something like that, you might get a HubSpot article. And on that HubSpot article, you are going to get every answer you need. You're not going to navigate to another page on their website, especially if you already have a CRM. You're not in the market for a CRM. You're just looking for an answer to your question. They happen to be the ones providing it. There you go. And so you could be returning to HubSpot's website 975 times without ever buying anything or going from one page to the next. But you are a repeat visitor. And so separate conversation. We're going to get to that in a second. But you do want to make sure that if you're a business, I don't want to say like HubSpot, but if you are a business where that is the case, where people could legitimately land on a page and not read that page and be done and not need you for anything else, that does not mean that your website is broken. A high bounce rate doesn't mean you should give up and run away. That's the reason why looking at a single raw number isn't meaningful. So the first thing, if you're going to get insights from your data, don't look at a single raw number. It's not useful to you. Okay. Second thing though, getting to that HubSpot question, got to get myself more comfortable. Getting to that HubSpot, like how could HubSpot get value, meaning insights from someone like me who is constantly on their website, not buying anything, like what does that even mean? Well, the second thing is that you shouldn't look at your data like all of it. You should filter it. Filter, sort, segment, and group, right? So if you're having your data collected, looking at your raw data may feel overwhelming. It may get a little much, right? A lot. It can be a whole lot. So instead of looking at every piece of data that is available to you, filter, sort, and group and segment and do all of the things so that you're only looking at a specific a group of information at a time. So what I mean by that is that you may want to examine a specific time frame around a specific activity and then go from there. So one of my favorite things that you can do very easily inside of Google Analytics, and if you come to my workshop that I'm having in 13, 17 minutes, you can see me do it, is you can create something called a cohort based exploration. I love this myself. This is like fantastic. A cohort based exploration is to look at your data over a period of time, tracking, not in a bad way, a group of people through to visitation. So you can say, I want to track from January 1st, if you already had the code on your page on January 1st, I want to track from January 1 through now, everyone who was a user on my website, who came to my website via a web browser, who typed my website directly in. They did not Google it. They typed in the URL directly into their web browser. And then I want to see what the retention is for those people. Retention being the amount of them that came back, right? So now that whole bounce rate thing that we're talking about earlier that has almost no value by itself, now we can add some meaning to that number. So if you look at a cohort-based exploration where you see, like, look at a report that says, out of the 250 people who visited your website on January 1st, 7 of them came back on the second week, 3 of them came back on the third week, and 1 came back the fourth week, right? So of that 203 people, you by the end of week 4, only 1 of them had come back that many times. So over a 4-week period, you only had 1 person who was a repeat visitor across 4 weeks, right? That is a really good way to examine your information. So what essentially that means is that you have a whole lot of people who are visiting your website at once, but that you don't end up having a bunch of people who are returning. Now, if you're HubSpot, that's probably actually different, right? So if HubSpot looks at their cohorts, they probably have a bunch of people who are coming back over a very close period of time, right? So if they have 200 people visit at 6 p.m. on a Thursday, because believe me, they have more than 200 people visiting in a day. They have 200 people visiting at 6 p.m. on a Thursday. They could do a cohort for that. They could track that cohort of people through for 2 months and see, what are those people doing? Of course, Google's not telling them who those people are. So if you are in that cohort, you don't have to be like, oh my God, HubSpot knows my life. HubSpot might know your life, but it's not because of Google. They have their own tracking software. So they're doing a whole separate thing. So what you really want to do, though, is not, again, look at all of the numbers at once. You want to give meaning to that number by sorting it, filtering it, segmenting it, so that you're not looking at every single population of every single person who's doing anything on your website. You may want to look at only the users who were viewing your website over mobile. You may, if you have a new web design, you might want to look at the drop-off rate that people are having on mobile devices. That is something that you would sort your way into, right? So you would sort your retention according to the mobile device, and say maybe even specific mobile device. So your retention of iPhone users, maybe your website is not very friendly to iPhone users. So at that point, doing that kind of sort becomes really, really useful to you. So this is what I want you to do, is think bigger by thinking smaller. So instead of every bit of data is something I'm going to examine, I'm not going to examine everything. I'm only going to examine the data that is useful to me. So that's your second thing that you're going to do. The third thing is that you're going to customize and configure like a pro. So in order to gain true insights that will help you to do something on your website, the best thing is for you to know what you actually want. So what is it that you want people to do when they come to your website? You need to have a goal. And I will challenge you that you might even want to have a goal for every single page on your website. Every page. Every page. What job does each page have? What is it supposed to do? If the page A is there in order to lead people to page B, then you should be able to know that. And then whatever people are going to do on page B, whatever that is, step number C or step letter C, what does that look like? You can then create for yourself an event inside of analytics that is a custom event where it says, did people, you can get a report that's like, when people did these 3 things, did they go from page A to page B to page C? So you can create a custom funnel, you can create a custom report, you can create a custom event that outlines the behavior that you're specifically looking for. Instead of having to sort your way into that information, you can have it just reported out directly to you so that you can know, okay, I have set up, again, like I said, maybe you got that high bounce rate and you're like, I'm going to fix that by linking between pages. Now you've linked between pages. Maybe your bounce rate starts to go down. You're going to get higher bounce rates, but maybe you're not getting any more conversions. Nothing's happening. You got a lower bounce rate, but you're not making any more money from it. Okay, now it's time to actually see what kind of, conversions you want to have happen and have it track it on your website. If you have analytics, track it on your website. If you're running an e-commerce business, this is easy enough to do because then you can just put the event track as either putting something in a shopping cart or hitting the checkout, like going all the way through the checkout process. Pretty simple to do. There's actually functionality directly in there for tracking e-commerce purchases. If you are not an e-commerce business, if you are one of us regular schmoes out here doing services, hustling for dollars, if you're like me, then you may not be able to put an e-commerce transaction on your website. You may have another way that people pay for your products that's not directly on your website. That's fine. You can track through to an appointment set. So if someone is going to be setting an appointment using your Calendly, did you know that you can track through to your Calendly? Yes, you can. You can also track through to a landing page. If you have a landing page, like I use MailChimp, so I can track my landing pages using MailChimp through Google Analytics. So if I'm sending someone from my website to a landing page, again, another one of those moments where they're not going to count as staying on my website. They're going to be officially somewhere else. But if I'm tracking that using a specifically set up custom conversion, then it becomes clear to me exactly what they're doing. Like I can see that they have gone from my website to this landing page, and it makes it a lot easier for me. And you can set it up to actually say, if this and this, then this counts a conversion. So if they go to this page and this page, then it's a conversion. If they don't go to those 2 pages, then it doesn't count as a conversion. It is not what you were looking for. So as long as you know what it is you are looking for, what type of behaviors you want, you can set up analytics to have those behaviors happen, like to track them when they do. It won't make them happen. That was what that sounded like. It's not going to make the behavior happen. It's just the users still have to do the thing. But as soon as they do the thing, you will be able to see the paths that they took to get there. And if they don't, if you set up a whole chain of conversion activities and all these things and nothing happens, like no one ever goes through your conversion, you never get someone to fill out a form that then goes to the thank you page. Oh my goodness, the clarity that you can get from that. So insight, again, is not about like, I made money. Insight is I have more information now than I did before so that I can adjust. So let's go back to that stupid PhD that I don't have. PhDs are not stupid. I just don't have one. So let's go back to that PhD that I don't have. One of my biggest challenges was that exact thing, right? I was challenged with if the thing did not happen the way I expected it to, I was having a difficult time gaining insight from that, like what to do now. Mostly because just like all of us as small business owners, I was like tying all of my self-worth in the planet to the outcome being what I expected. The reality is that real work, science, business, all of it, if it's real, it's going to be full of failure. And I wish to God someone had told me that when I was doing my PhD, because I might have one right now. But the truth is that if you're going to build a beautiful website that gets all of the usefulness out of it that you want, there's an extremely high likelihood that you're going to just fail a lot, that you're going to make pages that people don't read. So you will need to adjust. You will get copy help. You will eventually get to where you're trying to go, but it will be not via trial and error. It will just be through trying, failing, adjusting constantly. And if you do that, just those little micro tweaks constantly, then you will get absolutely where you want to go. The best way to do that, though, is not via instinct. Okay, so let's go back to our conversation from last week, which is all about instinct. Oh, I think this is happening. I think that is happening. It does not matter what you think. So if you set your data up, your data collection up so that you're capturing all the information, and then you set yourself up with really good custom triggers, with conversions, all of these little bits and bobs of insights, and you actually look at them, like you send yourself a report, because you can. So send yourself a little alert on there to let you know when changes have happened and when things are going on. If you set yourself up for success there, you will be able to make iterative changes on your website, iterative changes with your content that are going to make a big difference in your business. Unlike me, you will then end up with a successful business. I mean, I have a successful business now because I've been through this process, but I did not get that PhD because I was not willing to go through that process of like reading the data, analyzing the data, gaining insights, and then going back to the data and adjusting, right? Like, okay, well, that didn't work. Not changing the data, but like looking at the data and seeing, oh, well, if I sort it this way, or if I filter it that way, if I analyze this different part of it, what is it actually telling me? Instead, I just gave up. So there's that. But I don't want you to give up. I don't want you to think, oh, well, people aren't doing the thing that I need them to do on my website. So my website is bad. My website person who built it is stupid, and websites are dumb, and I don't know why people have them. No, right? I know that's like, I know it sounds childish for me to put all those words together like that, but I've heard people say things real close to what I just said there about websites. People who say things like, everything's a racket. Google is shadow banning me. I can never rank for this. I'm in the wrong industry. People don't do this, or they don't buy products like mine via websites anyway, making excuses for why it's not working. Instead of recognizing that everything could work, that you just have to make it work. And fortunately for you and all of us, Google Analytics is free. It's completely free, and it's there for you to use and gain insights from however you want, right? It's all completely free. So with that, in 6 minutes, I actually have a workshop. I'm going to drop in the link for it. It is a free workshop that is all about Google Analytics, and I am going to be going through exactly how to do the things that I was talking about just now. So I'm going to be going through how to set up insights, how to do segmentation. What does that look like? And I will be opening up Google Analytics, dropping into it, and actually showing you. So instead of guessing, because I don't want you to guess, I want you to have real insight. I want you to have your data actually come to life for you so that you can see what it really means to make informed decisions about your business. Not guesses, not gut, but informed decisions. So if you want to come hang out with me and make some informed decisions, click the link that I just dropped in, and I will see you over there, where we will be making some delightfully informed decisions together. And I will show you how to do that, how to go about it, and how to build yourself a really robust set of insights from your data. Okay, with that, I will see you next week on Tuesday, and have a fantastic rest of your week. Hopefully, I will see you inside of the workshop in just a few minutes. But if not, I will see you next Tuesday.